Hi everyone, just going to wait a couple of minutes for other people to join. Hopefully the network connection is good and you can see and hear what I'm going to share with you this evening. I'll just give it a couple more minutes. I will be showing this video on my Facebook page, both my personal page and my coaching page. Now, I know that what's happening in society with the coronavirus is a ever-evolving agenda, an ever-evolving moment in time, an ever-evolving situation. So I'm just going to wait a couple more minutes because I know I had quite a few people that were interested. And what I plan to do this evening is give you some tools and techniques, and you can re-watch this video, that may help you get through what is an unprecedented time, certainly that I've ever seen. I'm sure other countries have been through terrible things, but this is an unprecedented time for myself, and I'm sure for you and your loved ones, your friends and your family. So I'm just going to wait a couple more minutes. As I say, this video tonight is all about dealing with uncertainty, and I think I can speak for many of us when we're probably in a time of daily uncertainty. We all have moments in our lives where things don't go according to plan, and I've talked about that in previous videos about how you can learn and pivot from different experiences to go, okay, I feel like this now, how do I choose to feel? But these are extraordinary times, so I'm just going to wait a couple more minutes. If you do have any questions, please do ask them. And if I don't get a chance to answer them this evening, please feel free to shoot a direct message. Ask me anything you like. If there's anything you're struggling with, then just shoot me a message on Facebook in direct messenger, or post on the page if you feel comfortable doing so, because I think this is really a time where we all need to pull together, and whether that's virtually, whether that is our neighbours, our friends and our family, this is definitely a time for community in whichever way you define community. So I make it just past 6:15, so I'm going to get going with the Facebook Live this evening, which is all about dealing with uncertainty. Now, the first thing that I would say is that there's dealing with uncertainty and dealing with uncertainty. And I think we are dealing with something that many of us have not seen before. And there's uncertainty, but actually this is daily uncertainty in terms of not really being sure what's going to happen, what instructions we're going to get from our governments. I know that I have people on my page who are in Italy, in Spain, in other countries, and I know it's going to differ from country to country. And even in the UK this evening, I wasn't aware this was going to happen, but this evening, up until about 6 o'clock, the UK government was issuing new guidance about how we can protect ourselves, help our community, protect our friends and our loved ones. And before I share anything with you tonight, I would just like to reiterate that obviously listening and adhering to the guidance that we're being given by our local health authorities, by our local governments, for those that are working day by day in this area, it's really important we listen and take heed to that guidance, not just for the sake of ourselves, but for our friends, our family, our loved ones, our colleagues, whoever else we care about. It's really important that I just want to reiterate that you keep up to date with the health and safety information, that you keep yourself safe, you keep your friends and your family safe as much as you possibly can, and as difficult and as trying as this situation may be. So I'm going to cover a few things this evening. So first things first, health and safety, as I've talked about, listening to guidance. Uncertainty is a key area in life, but I think this is a particularly unique situation where our resilience to be able to take a deep breath and move from point to point, to take a deep breath, to stop, acknowledge how we feel, but try and let this not disempower us, is really, really important today. So I'm going to cover about 6 different key areas this evening, and I welcome any questions you have on this live or later on if you want to shoot me a message. I'm going to cover a few things. Techniques to help you stop, and what I call pivot. Pivot means just adjusting your course, pivoting. You know, like how a basketball player might pivot in a game. How can you pivot and do some things that can help you feel better now in terms of mindset, momentum, and helping others? How do we deal with uncertainty, and why is it that as human beings we really relish certainty in areas of our lives? And this is a particular time of uncertainty. How we can choose over between disempowering and empowering decisions and thoughts. What do those look like? How can we choose to feel things that are more empowering whilst listening to the advice we're being given by our various authorities? And then some other questions. You know, I work a lot in the field of career, and I've had a lot of people contacting me saying, well, how do I even maintain, improve or change my career in this climate? I'm going to cover that after the mindset piece. How do I demonstrate my value at work in this climate? You may feel a real affinity to your colleagues who may also be friends, but also how do you continue to demonstrate value at work when you may not be actually in the office or in front of people that you would usually work with? Now, for some of us, for example, I'm quite used to working remotely, but for some of us that aren't, that is a period of adjustment. And how do I, if I'm leading a team or if I'm leading a business, how do I actually lead in this climate where there's so much uncertainty? Okay, so I know that this is really, we're in uncertain times, and I understand that for many of us, it's more than uncertain. It's actually, for some of us quite scary, particularly if you have children, elderly relatives, and you want to care about the people that you love. And, I'm a coach, but I'm not bulletproof. And of course, I'm being vigilant. I'm listening to the advice. I'm trying my best with the tools and the learning that I've accumulated over the years as a coach to not let myself get sucked in, because otherwise that's just going to make the situation worse. It's like a rolling stone gathering moss down a hill. I'm being vigilant, and I completely understand that my views on concerns and the things I'm going to talk about tonight may not apply to everyone, because I think everybody's reaction psychologically, emotionally, socially is going to be different day to day as this situation unfolds. It's going to affect people with children, people with parents, families that are overseas, people that probably had dreams of moving overseas for their career or had something lined up. So I'm going to try and cover as many bases as I can tonight. And if there are particular topics you want me to go over in a bit more detail, then as usual, please do let me know. I think we have to shift and adapt our attitude as fast as this disease seems to be moving. So I think it really is about pivoting. I think that's a critical word, pivoting. So for example, if you wake up and you're feeling, on a normal day, stressed, or in this particular situation, you're feeling a bit low and a bit down, what can you do to really shift and change that mindset? Because otherwise, if you carry on with that downward spiral of that particular why me, why is this happening, fixed mindset, then all we're going to see is problems in front of us. So how can we shift that mindset really quickly? Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of basic techniques that may well help you in the moment to shift that feeling. These are going to sound really basic, but they're things that we don't do because we're usually rushing around. Now, we may not be rushing around as much. We may not be travelling as much. In one way, perhaps that gives us back a freedom of time, but in another way, perhaps that gives us more time to ruminate and think about what is actually happening. So, first thing I would say, if you can do nothing else, and you're feeling overwhelmed, please stop and take some breaths, take some deep breaths, replenish the air in your lungs with oxygen. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Now, some of you may do this already. Some of you may do yoga, meditation, mindfulness. But if you're not doing that, then please, I urge you to stop in the moment, breathe in that oxygen, because that oxygen feeds our organs, our brain cells, and allows us to have more clarity of thinking. Is there something you can do in the moment just to stop you going down that negative spiral? Could that be watching something on YouTube that cheers you up? Could it be picking up the phone to a friend or a family member and asking, how are you? Because research shows that by helping other people, it helps us to raise those feel-good hormones of dopamine, endorphins, all of those things. If you have children, can you laugh with your children? Can you look at the sky and think, do you know what? The sun is shining, the birds are singing, the sky is blue, hopefully where you are, and appreciate things in the moment. If you can do nothing else, I want you to start making conscious decisions like brushing your teeth, like doing your hair, like getting ready. If you've got more time at home, yes, it may liberate time, but it might give you more time to ruminate. If you feel yourself going on that spiral, just stop and make a decision to shift your attitude. And perhaps what you could tell yourself is that whilst at the moment I might feel like this, do you know what? It's not about running away from feelings. It's not about saying, I'm just going to ignore that, because that would be crazy. We have to listen to the advice we're being given by the experts. But this is how I feel right now, but it's not permanent. And now I'm going to choose to feel like this. Now, I'm not saying if you're feeling really down about it, you're going to say, do you know what? I'm absolutely over the moon about everything. If you can, fantastic. But even if you can inch yourself up a level by level, like climbing up a ladder, to say, do you know what? I'm feeling a bit down, but you know, I'm going to start to look at things that I appreciate. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to think about the things in my life that I really do appreciate, and maybe I have taken for granted over recent months, years or days. So that's what I call pivoting, taking a decision to think in a different way, a conscious, active decision, because that's something that we can control. Now, as soon as I said the word control, I don't like the word control. So maybe this is about mastering how we feel, and just stopping in the moment and making a conscious choice to go, do you know what? It's not about running away from things. It's not about ignoring things. It's about saying, I'm going to make a conscious decision. I accept at the moment, in this present moment, I'm feeling, I was going to swear then, I'm feeling upset, I'm feeling concerned, but I'm going to make a decision to do something about this. I'm making a decision to do something in the next 5 minutes to shift that attitude. I'm going to do something and choose to feel better now. I'm going to make a choice to feel better now. I'm going to feel empowered to do something. I'm not going to feel like a victim. I am making a choice. So it's about accepting how you feel, not pushing it away, because sometimes I think when we push away those what we call negative feelings, then actually it causes a bit of resistance. And it's about saying, do you know what? This is how I feel now, but it's not how I'm going to choose to live the rest of my day. Over the next however long, I choose to do this. I choose to feel like this. And it really is about becoming aware of that self-talk, those feelings, not pushing it away, recognising it and saying, do you know what? That is something I can shift. That is something I can change. So your key toolkit for the techniques to help you pivot and adapt your mindset, your thinking, mindfulness, being in the moment, pivoting, making a decision. I might feel like this now, but I'm going to choose to feel like this, and finding something that you can appreciate now. The sky, the birds singing, looking at your garden, whatever it is. Fresh air. So even if you are at home, getting out into the garden, I mean, you know, just sitting there, maybe meditating, being mindful, appreciating your garden, or opening the window to get some fresh air. Exercise. Now, I don't know whether you can still go out and get exercise, but maybe you've got some equipment at home you could use. Maybe there are some workouts online that you can download to get those. So we're not just shutting down. A lot of things seem to be shutting down, but let's not shut ourselves down. Let's not shut down the bit of us that can actually deal with this in terms of our mental attitude and what we can do physically. Be around positive people. So it's going to be difficult. You might be around people that are feeling negative about this, and I am in no way trying to minimise anyone that's going through a really trying and testing time. This is a very overview video in terms of if you've got elderly relatives, but as much as you can, be around positive, empowering people, and positive, empowering messages. Quotes on Instagram like Tiny Buddha. Think in that way in terms of surrounding yourself in people that can help lift you up, that sense of community, and your self-talk. Just as I've mentioned, can you shift that self-talk and go, hang on a minute, it's how I feel now. Okay, how do I shift it? I'm choosing to shift my thinking. The second point I want to come onto is dealing with uncertainty. I think this is definitely uncertainty with a capital U. So I'm going to go into this a little bit. So as human beings, we really thrive on certainty. If you just look at the things that we do, the things that happen in our life. So For some of us, it's about gaining control over what we cannot control. We can't control other people. We may be able to influence other people, but we can't always control other people. Sometimes facing our fears is really scary. So, for example, we may stay in a job where we're really unhappy. We may try and control what we eat. We may look to the media to give us truth because we don't want to dig for the answers ourselves. Or it may be that sometimes we stay in a relationship and we try and control the other person because as a survival mechanism, as human beings, we want certainty, and that's something that's actually quite hardwired into us. But I'm saying to you, in terms of what I've just covered in terms of those techniques, the truth can be what we decide it to be on a certain level. Yes, there's a situation unravelling day by day, moment by moment, but actually it helps to understand that as human beings, we do crave certainty. And uncertainty about the future, if it helps you deal with how you might be feeling at the moment, generates a very strong threat or alert system in our limbic system, so in our bodily systems. If we feel uncertain, it has not just a feeling in our mind, but throughout every cell in our body, our brain detects that something is wrong. So to a certain extent, that's what I was saying about accepting that you might have emotions that are going up and down. It's a biological response. It's a biological programmed instinct. Your brain detects that something is wrong. And sometimes your ability to focus on other issues diminishes because it's front of mind. Your brain has literally put it there because it senses there's a threat. It senses uncertainty. And our brains don't like this. It's like almost if somebody hits you on the leg or keeps hitting you on the leg, then you're going to think about that pain in the leg and you'll try and run away from that pain. And we try and do that by creating certainty. So if you, for example, if you are in a relationship and it's like, do you know what, I'm really unhappy, but I'm going to try and control what this other person does. That's all about the certainty that we want as human beings. It's part of our instinct and we tend to steer towards it, even when it might be better for us sometimes to go, do you know what? I just don't know how this is going to pan out. Do any of us really know? And to be embracing uncertainty, as difficult as that is, and I know it's difficult for some of us in all sorts of different situations. Certainty is a bit like an addiction. The more we seek it, the more we want it. So flick back to the earlier part in this video for some of the overview techniques that I've shared with you about pivoting and adjusting your mindset from moment to moment. And when we get certainty, our brain goes, whew, happy days, and it feels like a reward. So just know that if you're feeling like this, it's absolutely natural. It's programmed in us. But there are things we can do to help deal with uncertainty, as I mentioned in the first part of the video. So, for example, there are things that we do, like we put one foot in front of each other. We know that one foot, unless something happens, is going to land in front of the other. So we don't really notice that certainty, but that does happen. It's still, I'm going to walk, my feet are going to move forward. It's automatic. And, sometimes this is where affirmations work really well because it programs the brain, positive self-talk programs the brain to be open to other things happening, to be open and open your mindset to strive for what you really want. So sometimes it is like a software that's installed in us. It's like a game software that's installed in us. So, for example, when we do crosswords, we get a sense of satisfaction that, oh, I've completed that crossword. There's certainty in that. And it's not saying we're bad for doing this. We're just human. That's the way we're wired. Some of us like to really organise our files and clean the house to give us certainty. That's good. Everybody wants a clean house, especially at the moment. I would assume that a lot of us want to be organised. But just know that if you're feeling uncertain and that's making you feel wobbly, it's entirely natural, it's entirely normal, it's a part of our computer software, if you like. It's been programmed over the years. The trick is, how do you stop it running away from you in a period of time where things are changing moment by moment, day by day? Okay, so I've talked about some techniques to deal with uncertainty. I've talked about why humans crave certainty, if that helps you to understand why we do that. Or you're wondering, why do I feel so wobbly? Okay, the next part, disempowering versus empowering decisions. Okay, So, for example, if somebody says, well, you'll never do that, you're too old, or, well, you're no good at that. How does that feel? How does that feel when you catch that nagging voice saying that to you, whether that's a voice from outside or your own internal voice? I'm going to hazard a guess. It doesn't feel great. Already by saying those words, I can feel the sort of lethargy and the weight of that on my shoulders. Whereas if we become aware that every word we use, every message we send to our brain is programming that computer software and results in our feelings, our actions, and our results in life, ask yourself this question. Please, please ask yourself this question. How can I empower myself today? Whilst we're in a very changing situation, let's not become victims of everything. Let's try and think about, okay, I don't want to be a victim. How can I empower myself? And I did a post the other week about going to see a speaker called Caroline Miss, and her whole mantra is about empowering decisions rather than disempowering. So that could be, you know what? I don't know if I can, I can't go to work today. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see my colleagues. This is just an example. Okay, can you get onto Zoom? Can you get onto Skype? Can you give someone a call and say, how are you? How much better does that feel rather than shrinking yourself away? What active steps can I take to empower myself? You know, go and do like 10 press-ups in the garden or something. It leads to better decision making. And studies have shown that with employees as well, just to touch on the career side of things, that I think there was a study from Harvard Business Review of about 30,000 different employees. And when they worked with an empowering manager that activated them to go and do things, that increased trust and motivation in their day job. I know that's a career example, but take that as an example you could apply to other parts of your life. That people performed better, they felt better, they were motivated more. So what can you do? What empowering decisions can you take? The area that I really wanted to touch on relating to this, and I've got a diagram in front of me because it's, I might try and draw it and stick a picture on my Facebook page, but there's what we call a circle of control. So if you imagine a circle, you've got a circle of control. And this is from Stephen Covey. I don't know if you've read any of his work. If you've got time at the moment, I would definitely recommend reading anything by Stephen Covey, a classic in how to harness your own self-mastery, how to change your mindset, how to think about what you're doing in everyday life, how to start getting the results that you want. So that if you imagine a small circle, these are the things that I can control. I can control my behaviour. I can control my mistakes. I can control my effort. I can control how I enjoy myself, how I play, how I show up. I can control, to a certain extent, my body in terms of exercise, eating healthily, sleep, especially important at the moment, the foundation of the house. I can control and influence my thoughts, my choices, my attitudes, my actions, my ideas, and my words. Now, as I mentioned before, I've said before that I'm not a massive fan of the word control. So let's use the word influence or master. What are some of the things that I can master for myself in this particular situation? I'm going to go through them again. My behaviour, how I behave with myself, what I'm telling myself, and how I behave with other people, as difficult as that may be at the moment. The efforts I put into my goals, my life. My mistakes, how I look at my mistakes and try and do something different. How I enjoy myself, how I play. My body, my thoughts, my attitude, my choices, my actions, my ideas, and my words. And also, I would add to that, we can influence our community. I think I'm a firm believer in behaviour breeds behaviour. So I'm sure that whilst we can't control other people, we can master and influence the society that we live in and the community that we live in. And that's being brought more and more to the fore with what's going on at the moment. What I can't control, we can't control other people's words. We can't control other people's mistakes. We can't control others' actions. We can't control others' thoughts. We can't control others' ideas. We can't control how other people show up. If they're struggling and you know they're a decent person going through a bad time, maybe we can influence them with our words, our attitudes, how we show up, how we behave every day. But we can't control those things. So let's think about that circle about what can I control, what can I influence, what can't I control, what can't I influence. There's a lot at the moment, I've just talked about certainty, and there's a lot at the moment that we actually, as human beings, that crave certainty due to our programming. There's a lot we can't control at the moment. And I would say that actually we can't control so many things, but we've got used to maybe controlling certain things, and at the moment we can't. So really think about that exercise of identifying what you can control and influence and what you can't. Draw 2 circles on the page and listen back to this segment of the video. Okay. So we've talked about some techniques. That was section 1, techniques that might help you with mindfulness and getting through this difficult situation that we're in at the moment. We've talked about certainty, why we crave certainty, what certainty is, why we do it, if that helps you to understand why you feel wobbly when there are so many changes happening. How we can differentiate and make empowering and disempowering decisions, with the emphasis being on let's make empowering decisions and what we can control and influence. Career change. Again, this might be the last thing on some people's mind, you know, your career, but actually maybe it's about stepping up in your current career, but actually using this opportunity to think, okay, right, hang on. Does this give me an opportunity to sit back, reflect, look at my strengths and think about what I do want to do? Maybe this has really brought home that, do you know what? I'm not living in the moment. I'm not enjoying my career. So what can I do to change that? I would argue that whilst there's a lot going on, it's a good opportunity to reflect, read, research, look at what other people are doing, look on LinkedIn, look at other social media, and ask yourself, are you going to stop all of your goals and your plans, or are you going to take that empowering decision to influence what you can? And those are some of the outcomes in your life. We can control some of those outcomes. So think, how can I, rather than, why is this happening? I've got no idea what to do. Think about what I said earlier about empowering versus disempowering decisions, okay? Build connections online. Have phone calls with people that you've been meaning to ask about. Tell me about your job. What's it like? Think about, you know, what you want your future career to look like. Think about, you know, well, if my job changes, how is it going to change? Perhaps there's something you want to do in the community that you've never had a chance to do before. And this is, you know, becoming front of mind now with everything that's happening. Perhaps your career values or your life values are fundamentally shifting and you're realising, God, do you know what? I've been faking it for years. I've been doing something that doesn't really suit me. It doesn't suit my values of who I am as a human being. And maybe what's going on at the moment is reprioritise things for your life. So I would argue it's a great idea, not just to focus on your career values, but your life values, your vision about, you know what? This is really how I want my life to look in time. And this is what can I do now? Remember what I said about mastering and influencing. What can I do now? So that's the piece around career. If you're an employee or, you know, you're running your own business, how can I add value? Now, for many of you, you may be able to work from home. A lot of my work is working from home. A lot of my clients where I have been doing face-to-face work, we're doing those online via virtual means, via Zoom and other methods. I have online courses and classes that I provide to people. So just keep going, keep the conversation going. If you're working from home and you feel a bit isolated, if you've got internal social media, how do you guys all connect together? How are you going to check in with each other? Keep the conversation going. Value may be determined in a very different way than it has been before. Value may well be, actually, I may not be allowed to go out and sell because I can't be in front of my customers if you're a salesperson, but actually, can I learn? Can I develop? Can I look at other goals? And can I just show up with the right attitude? And can I be a volunteer for my own company and business and say, do you know what? I can't do this, but are there things I can help with? Can I be a good corporate citizen and really pitch in where it's necessary? That is a different way of showing value. And this is actually about moving away from your job description if some of that has fallen away or it needs to shift. Share your concerns with your boss and your colleagues, and perhaps your company has tools like Mind Tools or other online systems where you can get training, mindset tools, other things like that. Maybe you can download some courses. Udemy is a really good course platform. You might be able to download something really cost effective that will help you with your mindset and help you think about, you know what, there are some skills that I need to develop. I'm going to speak to my boss about, if I can't do this, can I focus on this? How can I demonstrate value in a different way? Value isn't always about sales. Value is about many, many different things. So talk to your boss, share your concerns, talk to your colleagues, support each other. Stay connected with your boss. Ask your boss, because, yeah, I know sometimes we can moan about our boss, but your boss is a human being. And if you get on well with your boss and you want to continue to have a good relationship, what can you do to help your boss or your peers or your colleagues? And use mobile, virtual technology as much as possible, Skype, Zoom. As I've mentioned, many of my roles have been remote due to the nature of the work that I do, and it has been like that for a long time. But for some of you, it's going to be quite different. And it's about setting, an area for work that isn't your sofa in front of the telly. That's your living space. Maybe it's the end of a table. Maybe you have got an office. Maybe you've got a spare room. Keep that as your workspace. Keep that as a space where you work. Don't let your work just splatter all over the house and take over your life. Get yourself into a routine and think about discussing with your boss, well, how can I help you? What are the ways that I can add value if some of your roles and your goals have shifted? What can you learn? What can you develop? And have that upfront conversation and share your concerns with your boss, because mental health and well-being is so important. If you're leading a team or leading a business, this again, just because you're a leader or a manager or running a business, it doesn't make us bulletproof, does it? I mean, I'm a coach. I've got lots of tools in my tool bag. Sometimes, I've had moments and setbacks where I've had to dig deep. And I would imagine that if you're leading a team and you've never been through something like this, that could well be the case for you. So keep communication with your team. Don't just rely on Skype or email. Pick up the phone. Let's get into the art of picking up the phone and asking how we are. I think we've lost that art, and I'm really hoping that we can get back into it. Think about how you might need to help your team psychologically. What tools for their own mental health and well-being can you put in front of them and reiterate that is available to them? If you haven't got any, what services can you provide? Even if it's just to talk, to get things off their chest. If they don't want to talk to you, but they want to talk to somebody else, because we don't want people to feel isolated and alone. We all need to be appreciated and valued and in communication with people. I know some of us are more introvert, but we are social animals. We are community animals. But really think about with your team, how do I need to ensure I keep that connection going with my team? How do I revisit goals so they don't feel under pressure and think, oh my goodness, I've got to go and do this, I've got to go and do this. How can we rejig the goals while this situation is going on? What other goals can I introduce? Talk to them, talk together. See if you can co-create something together. Listen to them, listen to your team, because I tell you, I think every day is going to be different for people because, I was with my parents yesterday, we were talking about things, and today already, within 24 hours, the situation has changed again. So listen to their concerns and be as flexible as you can with them, because this is actually where leadership really comes to the front. We call these things soft skills, but they're not soft skills. They're absolute critical life skills. Listening, empathy, asking questions, helping them with things that don't just revolve around the day-to-day job, but things that are going to help them as a human being become, their own self-leaders, their own, get through this situation as much as they can. Be open, be clear, be honest, be caring, and listen. These are really, really, really important skills at the moment, at any time, but particularly now. Be really clear if you are leading a team or a business, that you've got clear guidance, that aligns to whatever we're being told by local health authorities, what your company is saying, and really listen to your employees' concerns. If they want to work at home, let them work at home. It doesn't... Oh, thank you, Francesca. How are you? Are you okay? I've been thinking of you. Thanks for your comment. I hope you're well. Just as a leader, as I say, point them in the way of tools, anything they can get their hands on. Reiterate what you've got at hand to help them. And also, if you are in health and well-being, or even if you haven't got that, Maybe you can share things with them like, guys, it's important to eat healthily. Guys, it's really important to be doing exercise. You know, can they, you know, are there online fitness programs that you can share with them, like the Couch to 5K, like the 7-minute workout? Because sleep, food, nutrition, health and exercise is really, really important. It is the foundation of the house. And we're in a situation where that foundation of the house is a little bit wobbly at the moment. We're having to do things in a way that we've never done them before. So these are not soft skills. This is absolutely fundamental leadership skills. So, you know, make sure if you're leading that you're doing all of that. I'm glad you like the book, Frances. Thank you. I'm glad you like the book. Yeah, thank you. That's really nice to get that compliment. Thank you. Okay, so tonight, I will confess, this has been a whistle-stop tour, a real whistle-stop tour of mindset, career, and leadership. What I want to say is what I started with. Please make sure that you are keeping your friends and your family safe and healthy as much as you can. Please ensure that whilst we are in a period where we seem to be isolating more and more, that you find other ways to reach out, whether that's as an employee, as a peer, as a leader, as a family member, as a friend. And think about how you can help other people in your local community. I saw something fantastic the other day. A friend of mine in London, she's putting leaflets through people's doors saying, can I help you? And, you know, it's sad that she has to say this, but she said, for free, can I help you? I can get you shopping. I can do this. I can do that. So it's about trying to reach out and help each other in these unprecedented times. So to recap, I've covered a few different areas. I've covered techniques to help you stop, pivot, accept you are feeling in a certain way, that our emotions will be going through a bit of a washing machine at the moment. I've given you a few techniques about how you can stop and pivot, course correct, and do things that maybe incrementally, the more that you do them, the more they will help you build your resilience and feel better now. Food, nutrition, sleep, vitamins, looking after yourself, drinking water, absolutely fundamental, as well as listening to the advice. So that was the first section, those techniques to help you moment by moment. And we are living moment by moment. And I think actually if you want to take a more spiritual look at things, and I don't really publicise it on my page, but I am a qualified law of attraction coach, and I do base a lot of what I do on spirituality, but I don't always talk about it in some of the work I do on Facebook. But let's face it, all there is the present moment. All we have is now. Now is all there is. So if we can get into the moment of being present in the moment with those techniques I covered in section 1, I think they're going to help you, or at least edge you up a scale of starting to feel better. I've talked about dealing with uncertainty. I've talked about why human beings crave certainty, that it's programmed in us, that it's something that we strive for. I've talked about why we strive for it, and actually what that means for us now in very uncertain times. Number 3, I've talked about how you can choose empowering thoughts versus disempowering thoughts and decisions. Just ask yourself, is this decision now empowering me or disempowering me? It may not be a decision, it may be a fleeting thought, and you just catch yourself feeling a bit rubbish. It's like, hang on a minute. Has that thought empowered me or disempowered me? Please try and choose empowering thoughts. Number 4, it may be the furthest thing on your mind, but for some of us, you know, I know that we've got friends and family we need to care for and peers, but thinking about your career, your goals in life, is this a good opportunity to revisit what's really important to you in life? Is it really time to think, do you know what, I've been coasting. I'm going to use this time where perhaps I'm not as mobile as I was before to think about, well, hang on, how can I change things for the better? What's really important to me? How do I, evolve what I do? Rather than stopping and let everything take control, there are certain things we can influence, there are certain things we can control. And I talked through and gave you a list of the things that you can influence, what you can't influence, and, what you can do about that. I've also talked about how you can continue to demonstrate value at work in this particular climate. Value being defined perhaps in a different way than it was before. How you can shift and adjust goals. How you can really demonstrate your corporate citizenship in the company or business that you work for. And I've also talked about how to lead during these times, what you can do for your team, for your employees, for even suppliers and partners that you work with, because these are unprecedented times and our feelings will be going through a bit of a washing machine. So I've covered about 6 different areas. I've tried to cover a lot on purpose tonight. Rewatch this video. If during these times there are particular feelings, reactions, uncertainties, or areas that you think, do you know what, I wouldn't mind you doing a video on this, then please direct message me. If you've got any questions or concerns that are burning away and you think, do you know what, I just don't know how to deal with this, send me a question. It's fine, not a problem. I'll answer your questions. But I just want to give you the biggest hug to your friends and your family. And I just want to urge you to keep going, influence what you can. Whilst it is unprecedented times, let's think about how we can use this time effectively. Do we want to shrink even further, or do we use this time to go, hang on a minute, what can I influence? How can I empower myself? And really making sure we're looking after our health and fitness, our friends and our family. So with that, I'll close the video tonight. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Feel free to share this video with your friends and family. And by all means, any concerns, questions, drop me a message on Facebook. Anything you want to cover, drop me a message on Facebook. And I wish you abundant blessings, as I like to say. And I'm thinking of you all. And I just really hope that whatever you're doing, your friends and your family are well, and that you're able to just pivot and deal with whatever's happening and keep yourself as safe as possible as you can for everyone that you know, you work with, you live with, and who you care about. Bye-bye. Speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.